They say the sea holds secrets darker than the void of night, that beyond the crashing waves and howling winds, beneath leagues of cold, uncharted water, something ancient stirs. It does not sleep. It waits for sailors who whisper its name in trembling tones. Kraken, the ocean's cursed, the mariner's nightmare. But what if I told you this monster was not just myth? That long before your time or mine, the Kraken did rise, and the sea turned red. A deep, slow chant. Return what was taken. Our story begins in the year painful flashed before him. An ancient temple beneath the sea. A glowing heart sealed in chains. Men with torches, ships burning. He saw blood oceans of it. It wasn't just a monster, it was a guardian. Something had been stolen, and now it was waking. Off the treacherous coast of Nordheim, a kingdom long swallowed by time, there was once a ship, carved from blackened oak and blessed by the northern priests, named the Night Herald. She was no ordinary vessel, for, in his chest, he carried a scar not from battle, but from birth, a mark shaped like a broken trident. Eirik descended into the hold, searching through his father's belongings, maps, journals, strange carvings. He found it then. A journal soaked in salt and madness. It spoke of an ancient pact, made by the Halvorsen bloodline long before kingdoms were built. A pact with something old and endless. They had stolen the heart of the deep to seal away the Kraken and grant their family dominion over the sea. His mother, they said, died screaming the moment he was born, and now he understood why. He wasn't just a man. The pact was broken, and now the Kraken had come to collect. He was connected to the deep, bound to it by blood, where compasses spin madly, they said, and even the sun forgets the way. But Eirik was not afraid. The veil called to him. Tentacles thicker than tree trunks coiled silently beneath the ship. A single eye opened beneath the surface. Vast pupil like a black sun. It blinked once and the ocean trembled. The crew screamed, but the ship did not move. The Kraken had not attacked. Not yet. And when the Night Herald passed into its ghost-grey mists, the crew felt the air change. Not colder, not warmer, but heavier, as though the sea itself was holding its breath. Her captain, Eirik Halvorsen, bore a curse from birth, eyes like silver coins, always glowing faintly beneath the moonlight. A man born of storm and shadow, raised on tales of sea beasts and gods that walked among mortals. Eirik was not just feared, he was respected, for no storm ever claimed him, no blade ever pierced him, and no truth ever escaped his mouth. His crew followed him like wolves behind their alpha, bound not by pay, but by belief that Eirik was chosen. And he believed it too, for in his dreams, he heard whispers, long, winding chants in a language older than man, dragging him east, always east, toward the great fog wall known as Drogor's Vale. Sailors feared that place. Food spoiled, wood creaked as if groaning in pain. And then, on the seventh night, the sea turned silent. No wind, no waves, just stillness. Eirik stood alone at the bow, staring into the deep, his silver eyes wide. And then he said, "It's watching." Below, something moved, a shadow, a mountain of flesh, a cathedral of limbs. Instead, a voice rose from the sea, not heard with ears, but in the marrow of their bones. Eirik knelt, clutching his head. But from where, and by whom? Only Eirik could know the path forward. As the crew scrambled, praying to gods who did not answer, but time is a cruel thief. Eirik knew what must be done. But the cost, oh, the cost would be terrible. Eirik returned to the deck with the journal in hand, face pale as frost. The crew fell silent. Even the sea, though alive with whispers, held its rage for the moment. "We stole from a god," Eirik said, his voice like broken stone. That meant Eirik. Eirik stood at its center, the old words of the sea god echoing in his ears. Return what was taken. He raised the obsidian dagger, but before it could fall, something changed. And not just any part of him. They stole the heart to enslave the sea. They wanted to become gods, but they failed. "Eirik, you seek to undo what your ancestors started, but I offer something more." Her skin was cracked like old porcelain. Her fingers twitched unnaturally, as though something inside her wanted to escape. The heart had poisoned her. The Kraken's power was not meant to be wielded, only respected. "Join me. With the Kraken's heart, we can command the deep, rewrite the world, rule it." And Ingrid, she had paid the price. Her eyes were no longer human. They swirled like whirlpools filled with madness. It required his heart. Its tentacles lashed through the air, dragging the Leviathan skyward like a toy. Men screamed as wood snapped and fire spilled into the ocean. A voice older than mountains, deeper than oceans, poured into his mind. Not words, judgment. The heart, still clutched in Ingrid's hand, pulsed brighter than shattered. And now, the god has come for blood. His first mate, old Bjorn One Eye, stepped forward, trembling. But not just any Shapit was the Leviathan, the war barge of House Muller, ancient rivals of the Halvorsons believed lost to time. Its sails were black as nightmares, its prow shaped like a dragon's skull, and standing upon it, wrapped in tattered robes, was Ingrid Muller, a woman long thought dead. We didn't steal anything, Captain, that was long ago. The sea forgets, doesn't it? But Eirik shook his head. The sea forgets nothing. And the Kraken is not here for justice. It's here to finish what was started. A thunderous groan rose from beneath the ship. The water boiled. The hull shuddered. But still, the beast did not strike. It was waiting, testing, and that made Eirik afraid not for his life, but for the truth now unraveling inside him. He was not just the last of the Halvorsen line. He was its price. The journal spoke of a ritual, one final offering to bind the Kraken back into sleep, but it could only be performed by blood of the original pact. As dawn broke over a sunless sky, the men gathered around a silver circle drawn on the deck. Runes etched in oil and bone shimmered like fireflies. A scream tore from the crow's nest. The lookout pointed northward toward the fog. A ship was coming. Eirik's breath caught. He had known her once, loved her once. She was fierce, brilliant, wild as the sea. But she vanished a decade ago, on the night her father died. And now here she was alive, changed, and holding a relic in her hands. A glowing, chained orb, pulsing like a heartbeat. The Kraken's heart. She had it. The pieces fell into place. It wasn't the Halvorsons who broke the pact, it was the Muggler. Her voice carried over the waves, sharp as shattered glass. Eirik looked into her eyes and saw the cost. No, he said simply. That's not power. That's damnation. She laughed, and with a single gesture, the sea exploded. The Kraken rose. It did not erupt from the water, it emerged, like a continent given breath. Towering, writhing, endless. The scream that followed was not of this world. Eirik fell to his knees. Blood burst from his ears. The air turned thick as tar. The Kraken had awoken not to kill, but to cleanse. Fire rained from the sky as the Leviathan crumbled, swallowed piece by piece into the Kraken's endless maw. The sea frothed red with oil and blood, but Eirik stood motionless, locked in the Kraken's gaze. There was no hatred in that. I know fury, no vengeance, only the weight of time, of memory. And Eirik understood, in that terrible silence, that this was not a monster. It was a mirror, a reflection of man's greed, man's arrogance. He thought of the generations before him, kings and pirates, all drunk on stolen power. He thought of his mother, who died birthing a child marked by the sea. And he thought of Ingrid, the woman she had once been, now hollowed out by ambition. A god made flesh by the sins it had endured. He tore it page by page, casting the ink into the wind. He took the old relics, bones, rings, charms of the pact, and hurled them into the sea. The runes on deck dimmed and died. Its body shimmered with light, as if shedding centuries of pain. The water around it glowed deep blue. The air hummed, and slowly, impossibly, the beast began to sink, not retreating, descending, returning. The glow that had poisoned Ingrid now surged into him. But Eirik, unlike her, did not resist. He let the current take him, let the sea write its final word upon his soul, accepting the sacrifice. The circle broke. The curse unraveled. The crew of the Night Herald could take no more. Some jumped into the sea, thinking it safer than facing the beast. The stolen power inside her writhed, untethered. Without the heart, without the pact, it had nowhere to go. And it chose the nearest vessel, Eirik. Others clutched their weapons with trembling hands, whispering prayers to dead gods. Bjorn, loyal to the last, approached Eirik with tears in his eye. Ingrid, her skin glowing with cracks of crimson light. She floated, not walked, held aloft by the Kraken's will. Her voice was not her own. It echoed like 1,000 drowned voices. The pact is broken. The debt must be paid. Only blood can silence the sea. Smooth, still, sacred. We're not meant to fight this, lad. We're dust. The crew, dazed and quiet, looked to the sky as sunlight pierced the veil for the first time in weeks. Bjorn clutched the helm. He did not speak. He simply sailed back to a world that would never believe what they had seen. Fleas. The Kraken's tentacles hovered in the sky like suspended mountains. Ingrid's face twisted not in rage, but in sorrow. She reached toward Eirik. You don't understand. It's not your death it wants. It's your choice, willingly given. Only a sacrifice made in truth can mend what was torn. Let's run while there's still time. But Eirik knew there was no escape. Not anymore. From the wreckage, a figure rose burned, broken, yet somehow alive. The crew backed away, but Eirik stepped forward, his voice steady. Then take mine. The sea stilled. Eirik glanced at his crewmen who had followed him into storms and silence, through hunger and hell. Then he did what none expected. He dropped his blade. I choose, he whispered. Not to fight, not to rule, but to end this. From his belt, he drew the journal of his father. In that moment, something changed. The Kraken reared back not in rage, but release. But the price had not yet been paid. Ingrid's scream tore across the ocean. He collapsed as the sea roared to reclaim what was stolen. His last breath was not one of pain. It was peace. And then, silence. The fog lifted. The sea calmed. Where the Kraken had once loomed, only water remained. The night herald drifted gently westward, its sails tattered but whole, but they would remember. Years passed, the sea bore no witness. No Kraken stirred. No whisper came from the deep. The night herald never sailed again. Her hull was pulled ashore and left to rot, not dead, never dead, only dreaming. Her mast cut down and burned by fearful hands. Men do not like reminders of gods they cannot kill, passed down by trembling hands and whispered through cracked lips, that there are powers we were never meant to command, gods we were never meant to challenge, and choices that echo longer than lifetimes. His bones scattered among the wrecks of dead ships. Far from land and you feel the wind die, the stars vanish, and the water goes still. Listen, others believe he was taken, made warden of the deep, neither living nor gone. There is one tale-ode, nearly forgotten, of a ghost ship seen beneath the aurora, sailing against the wind, its captain standing tall with eyes of molten silver and a scar shaped, like a broken trident, glowing on his chest. Beyond one eye never spoke of what he saw, not to kings, not to priests, not even to the sea. It punishes only when disrespected, and what Eirik did, his sacrifice, his surrender, that was not defeat, it was balance. He returned to Nordheim a changed man. Sailors speak of strange currents, water that pulses with its own rhythm, tides that turn without wind or moon. They speak of a new reef rising from the deep, shaped like a coiled serpent, impossible to chart. They say birds avoid it, that ships that stray too close return empty, their decks slick with seawater and salt-stained footprints, quiet a pressure behind the eyes, a weight in the chest, a memory of silver eyes and shadowed chants. Warnie took up a lantern and walked the shore each night, eyes fixed on the horizon, waiting for a storm that never came. The villagers called him mad, but the children listened. They huddled close, drawn to his gravel voice and a tale he whispered only when the moon was right. The tale of a captain born cursed, of a beast that ruled the sea, and of a choice that saved the world. But in truth, that was not the end. Far to the south, where the waves are warm and the stars burn red, and sometimes, in the stillest part of night, a voice is heard beneath the hull. Not in words, in feeling. The Kraken sleeps, they say, but what of I? Some say he drowned. They call it the second pact, for the sea is not evil. The story of the Kraken is not one of monster. It is a warning, etched in salt and blood. So the next time you find yourself at sea alone, do not move, do not pray, do not run. Because if you hear a voice not loud, but deep, asking you to return what was taken, then you will know the Kraken has opened its eye again, and this time it remembers your name.